you. All right. Well, good evening. It's nice to have a crowd here tonight. I am happy to adjourn the City of Travelers Rest Council meeting for Thursday, May the 16th. It's nice to have our Girl Scouts in attendance tonight, and we'll give you guys some space and time to present before council. But if you wouldn't mind, please standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I will ask Councilmember Lane to please pray for council.
Dear Lord, we just thank you so much for this beautiful weather and the sunshine that you brought today after the rain, Lord, to grow our trees and bushes and flowers, Lord. And we just thank you for the time that we can have here on council. Just be with us, that we will be kind and considerate and be respectful in our discussions. And just thank you so much for the Girl Scouts that are able to be here tonight and for the work that they do in our community as well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Very much. And this is a little unusual, but since we have our former Mayor Pro Tem Harvey Choplin is in attendance. Harvey, would you mind telling everyone why we say when we do the pledge, just continue under God? You educated us a few years ago on that, and I think the majority of council still does that.
Come to the mic.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to come to the mic real quick. Yeah.
It's just not a comma there. It's a continuous thing. And I know in the past people have hesitated there, but it's not. It's just continuous without a comma.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know we continued it after you left, Harvey, so I was like, I want you guys to know why we're like, under God.
Don't you tell these young ladies why we do say the pledge now where we didn't used to.
Oh, you have to take credit for that one,
No,
Wayne.
but it was, I'm like, dude, whatever, you got me.
Yeah. I think you were at elementary school and they asked us if we said the pledge.
At Gateway. I was in a second grade class. Now, don't ever think that you don't have, as a young person, that you don't ever have an effect on what goes on in your community. And I was in a second grade class. And a young man asked me, he said, when you have your council meetings, do you say the Pledge of Allegiance? And at that particular time, we did it. From that day forward, we said the Pledge of Allegiance at every meeting.
Yep.
Because of a second grader.
Yeah, that's why it's always good for you young people to ask us questions, because we just don't think about all the things. So that was a great perspective. So we don't always have Harvey, so we have to take advantage of his institutional knowledge while he's here. All right, so moving on, we have approval of our minutes from our previous meeting. So do I hear a motion for our regular council meeting minutes from April the 18th to be approved?
Before we approve them, there was one change.
Okay, you want to hold on to it to after in the edit part?
Oh, thank you, yeah.
So
Motion
you
to
wanna
approve.
Okay, second? Sherry?
Second.
Okay, second by Lisa, and then you got to edit for us. Oh, I don't know what the edit is.
I'm sorry, your point. So the minutes are going to change the time frame to
Okay.
evening, and then take out one name that wasn't there.
Okay.
Yep, that was it.
Great. All right, so motion to approval with with the edits. Okay.
Mayor Amadon, that's actually for the retreat minutes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so let's pause that for 1 second. So we've got two.
Just tell us when and what to do.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so no changes to council meeting for April the 18th, correct? Great. All right. Any further discussion or edits? All in favor? Okay. All right, and for the council retreat, are the changes already in, or we need to make a motion with the changes?
Make
that
a
make
motion to the changes.
Okay, great. So we have a motion for council retreat minutes for April the 18th for timing and one name adjustment.
Correct, I make the motion.
Second. Second by Shanice. Any further conversation? And just for noting for the record, this was for our council retreat that we typically take, usually like every 2 years when we have new council members come. And it was great vision setting for our new city administrator, and so gives us some good direction for big projects and long-term thinking, which is pretty cool. All right. All approve? Shanice, you good? All right. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, now we get to the good stuff. So citizen participation, we have Girl Scout Troop 3370. If you guys want to come forward and let us know what you have going on.
Good evening, City Council members. We are here representing Girl Scout Troop 3370. The juniors in our troop recently completed our Bronze Award project, and the purpose of our visit this evening is to tell you about our project and give City Hall an American flag retirement box.
The Girl Scout Bronze Award is the highest award granted to 4th and 5th grade junior scouts. In order to earn this award, juniors must complete a journey, study, and take action project. Our journey study focused on identifying roles we take and addressing stereotypes. To address the stereotype that military veterans are all old men, we researched female military veterans who made contributions to American military efforts in history.
In keeping the theme of veterans and patriotism, we decided to make our own Take Action project, an American flag collection project. We researched how to properly retire an American flag and hosted a flag retirement ceremony back in April where we presented our research on female veterans.
To make this Take Action project sustainable, we decided to make our Bronze Award project to purchase American flag recycling boxes to make available to citizens in Travelers Rest. We already have a box at the True Value Hardware store on Walnut Lane. We also plan to have a box at the Bank of Travelers Rest main branch on Plaza Drive. Tonight we are bringing a box to City Hall so that citizens have a third option for where to bring old American flags.
We'll check each box throughout the year and collect flags so that our troop can conduct more flag retirement ceremonies in the future.
Thank you for allowing us to share our project with you tonight and providing space for our box in the City Hall lobby.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. If you want to hold on for 1 second. So Shanice and I attended your flag ceremony back in April, and that was a very cool presentation with all the poster boards and the female veterans, and you guys did a really, really great job. But I'll open it up to council. Does anybody have any questions?
Just great job.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Do we need to get a picture
any-
before you leave?
Are you having a lot of luck? I mean, are people bringing them in? What? At the True Value. Good deal.
Good. Well,
Great.
That's awesome.
You know who would be more than willing to donate, and they probably got a stack that high, is the post office over here, because they used to take them and
Oh, the fire station.
you got a bunch too.
We have a box
See, there you go. They got a bunch right here.
And now look at Shanice.
will you guys send that to Beth, and then we can help promote too? I was telling, I was at the Wild Hair Gallery 5-year celebration earlier, and I was telling that you guys were coming tonight, and I had a lady ask me about retiring Bibles, so I thought maybe that's something that you could research and help us figure out. I don't know what the answer, like. Yeah, that might be, and I was like, I actually don't know the answer to that, so I'm not sure if it has similar, but I told her that I would ask you guys, so if you could dive that for us too. Awesome, well, thank you so much, we appreciate it.
To put the box in the lobby, or would you all like to decide where?
Lobby.
Yeah, let's do lobby. Yeah, that sounds great. Just pick a spot and we'll move it around if we need to, but we'll also promote it on all of social media too, so people know about it, which is really cool. So thank you guys for coming, I appreciate it.
So can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a Girl Scout and a Daisy?
Answer that one? We're all Girl Scouts, but there's a different level, so we're junior,
Uh-huh,
but then the Daisy is the first
okay.
one. Be a Daisy, then a junior.
So daisies are kindergarten and first graders. Brownies with the brown uniforms are second and third graders. These ladies are all fifth graders, but fourth and fifth.
Okay, that's cool.
Cool.
Good question.
Do we have any Girl Scout? I was a brownie back in the day.
I too
I was a brownie.
Yeah,
Definitely a
yeah.
brownie.
See? We all turn out very well.
No comments over here.
Well, thank you guys so much. You are more than welcome to stay. We're going to talk about budget, but you also might have end-of-year things that you need to get to, so you will not hurt our feelings if you need to head out. But thank you so much for coming tonight and speaking to us. We appreciate it. All right, we'll see you. And thank you to the moms and dads and parents. And
Really
I know
cool.
you guys do a lot of the work, so thank you for bringing them.
Yes, he does a great job.
Thank you. Bye, thank you for coming. All right, all that goodness is to help balance out the budget conversation we have for the rest of the night, which is great.
That's cool.
All right, ordinances and resolutions for second reading, we have none. We'll move into our committee reports. First, we have Public Works, Chair Lane.
Thank you, Mayor Amadon. The committee discussed the Public Works Committee met May 6, 2024, and approved the April 8th minutes. The committee discussed the April Public Works report. A few updates that were discussed. Director Tate and Administrator Herman met with the Mountain Laurel Flower Garden Club and made a plan for the gazebo area with Phase 1 starting immediately. A new playset is ordered for Athens Park. There are also other updates occurring there. Construction is hoping to start on the new trail connector between the YMCA and Main Street in a week and a half. They hope to be completed by December. And restriping is occurring on the city-owned lot, so lots going on.
Thank you for that. Public Safety Committee, Chair Byers.
The Public Safety Committee met on May 6th and approved the April 8th minutes. The committee reviewed the following from the April Public Safety reports. For police, there are 2 new employees, and both officers at the academy have graduated. For fire, Chief Robertson noted that April was a busy month for the department as far as community engagement, and there were no major updates for building.
Thank you, Kelly. Planning and Development Committee, report from May. Yeah, who's the,
Me.
is that you too? Okay,
Yep.
thank you, Kelly.
Okay. The Planning and Development Committee met on May 6th and approved the April 8th minutes. We discussed the April Planning and Development report, and the following items were discussed. A revision to the East Bowers Road development is coming before the Planning Commission on May 23rd. And we also discussed the open planning director position, which has now been filled.
All right, last but not least, Ways and Means, Chair Baumgartner.
The Ways and Means Committee met May 6th and approved the April 8th meeting minutes. Administrator Herman presented the fiscal year 2025 City of Travelers Rest budget, and the committee voted to move forward all budget ordinances to first reading, which is tonight. Everyone, that ends my report. Everyone has received, though, the financial update. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask either myself or Administrator Herman at this time about the financial update? All right, hearing none, that does end my report.
All right, great. Now we move into ordinances and resolutions for first reading, and I know we have some of our regulars here tonight, but it's budget season. So last week we, in committee, discussed a lot of the details on budgets, and tonight is our first reading, and so we'll have more conversation, and then it'll go again for next month, and we'll have public hearing, and we'll vote on it a second time. But a very important time for us here at the city. All right, so first we'll have consideration of, for our first reading of ordinance related to the general fund, and I will pass it over to Grant Baumgartner.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go through a little bit of an update prior to me getting directly to the ordinances. As I stated at the Ways and Means Committee meeting last week, my sincere thanks to Carson Ruffage, our clerk treasurer, who so faithfully dug to uncover figures and documents needed to assemble this budget. To prior City Administrator Eric Vinson for assisting with the change in administrator positions and helping us navigate from the past into the present, and to new City Administrator Shannon Herman, who began the process of budget compilation almost from the first day she walked into the office in March. Although you may have been attempting to drink from a fire hose during that process, it's been a pleasure to assist you in completing this fiscal year 2025 budget. Therefore, as Chair of the Ways and Means Committee, I'm proudly able to announce that Council has been presented a balanced budget, and that is accomplished with no tax increase to our city residents and no withdrawal from our city reserve cash account. We are still providing programs, services, and protection for the residents of Travelers Rest. At the city level of government, the budget process first flows through the TR Council Ways and Means Committee, then is passed on to full council, which is where it is right now. The budget now must be approved with 2 separate votes of full council, usually over a 2-month period. As a reminder to all of council and anyone listening or following us online, a budget is a rolling, working, living document. It sometimes needs updating after being approved. Passing this now doesn't rule out the possibility we may want or need to change something in the future for either our expenditures or our revenues. The budget as presented is the best we can figure for where we are at this time and looking into the future fiscal year. The responsibility of council and the city administrator is to monitor the budget throughout its year-long lifetime until the time to consider a new budget for a new year, which means council may choose to reevaluate the status of the budget in January or at any time, and could at any time, providing financial conditions allow, readjust the budget and increase projected involvement, increase staffing levels or salary amounts, or even make additional equipment purchases a possibility. Currently, this general operating budget for our departments and our non-specific funds have increased to $347,112 over the fiscal year 2024 budget, making the full budget proposed $8,079,542. I consider the increase to be only a slight increase. This budget makes a few accounting adjustments within departments, provides for a 4% COLA wage increase for all employees, provides a couple new vehicles for our departments, increases staffing levels, and completes some long-awaited capital projection construction projects like the Poinsett Center Street Corridor Streetscape Project, the Spring Park Inn Parking Lot Project, and further beautification for the downtown area. Also, following our committee meeting last week, a slight miscalculation in the installment purchase bond 2013B debt payment was discovered. It was an overpayment that was calculated on that bond payment, which is reflected in the current budget proposal, which means it's in what we already looked at Ways and Means Committee and is sent on to council right now. I will propose an amendment to the general fund budget to reallocate $64,172 from that bond debt service line item to be put into the administrative salary and administrative seminars budget line. That then gives us the opportunity to bring to reality a dream and request of both city administrators that I have worked with, City Administrator Shannon and Eric Vinson, to expand the treasurer responsibilities into a full-time permanent finance director position and reduce the clerk position to only part-time. No other changes needed in the budget as the money is already included in the budget total as previously presented. Revenues are expected to increase yearly, so council won't be in the position of finding new money each year to pay for these positions, which was a concern of mine during positions with both administrators talking about this. The money is already budgeted, allocated, and included in this current budget and simply needs reallocated within the general fund expenditures. Conversation about this proposed budget by council members occurred during our Ways and Means Committee meeting last week. So, if it seems like this is being voted on with little or no discussion, that would be incorrect. The bulk of our discussion was conducted during that committee meeting on May 6th. Therefore, at this time, both City Administrator Shannon and I considered our budget revenue projections and expected expenses to be conservative and are confident and satisfied with the overall budget figures as presented. That being said, let me move on to the first motion, which is to consider first reading of the general fund budget to include the rate fee schedule and the CIP program. My motion is not there yet. Nope, I got to go back and so I haven't made that motion. I'm actually going back first to make a motion to amend the proposed fiscal year 2025 general fund budget to move that $64,172 from the IPBR 2013B payment line to the administrative salary and administrative seminar lines to expand the treasurer responsibilities into a finance director position, to pay for training in a part-time city clerk position, to change the maintenance department name to Public Works and correct the ordinance maintenance expenditure to $463,522, making full budget appropriations $8,079,542. That is my motion.
Okay. First, thank you for that very detailed summary of the process and also a summary of our conversation from last week, because budget is a lot of moving pieces. So thank you for that, Grant. And so for clarity, we have a change from the committee meeting that we all moved to council. So Grant has a motion to approve the amendment of the general
first.
fund first, and then we'll vote on the full general fund, or will that
No,
include?
we'll vote on the amendment
Okay,
first.
great, great.
It's just
So
an
this is amendment, so we have the amendment motion, if we could hear a second, and then we'll move it in discussion.
Second.
Okay, second from Shanice, thank you. All right, well, this is a good problem to have, that we have extra money versus going backwards. So Shannon or Grant, do you guys want to expand upon the kind of thinking behind it, or any additional thoughts? Because this might be new to some council
And
members,
it
yeah.
probably is new too. I was really excited. Shannon and I met and said, I have found an overpayment. And I had seen it, but hadn't had the opportunity to actually visit with her about it yet. The overpayment, most of the payments in the last several years have been $71,000 to $69,000, and this was a $135,000 payment. And it's just, for whatever reason, everybody missed it, but it's an overpayment. It's still in the budget, and it's in the budget lines that we already looked at Ways and Means Committee.
Just moving it around.
We have the option of either we can make that payment onto the bond payment and just reduce the principal. We can put it back into the general fund and use it for something else, or we can do what I propose to do, and that is, let's get this finance director position funded, and we don't have to go out, take any money from any other department or any other program to finance this, because it's already in there, and it will be in there from this year on. We don't have to worry about trying to find the money, which was what my concern is over the last couple years.
And I don't want to assume that everybody knows this, but I feel like we've talked about it maybe in some capacity. But we have kind of been talking about this position for a while. And
Talking about a couple
Shannon,
years.
you probably know too, like we've gotten bigger. And so it's like this person, I assume, would do money and HR and benefits and all the nitty gritty. So having someone that kind of owns that feels kind of like similar to us deciding the planning director position back in the day. Like, okay, we've gotten big enough that we need somebody to kind of own it. But I don't know if you want to add to maybe the value or how it might make your life easier, Shannon. That might be good too.
Mayor Ramadan, thank you very much. And I think this is a critical position for a city that's sophisticated to the point that the level that City of Travelers Rest really has. So the expanded position, in my mind, would take the treasurer duties, which exists currently as a general accountant for the municipality, and the custodian and depositor of funds. Those are the duties that currently sit under the treasurer description, and expand that out. I see this position leading procurement efforts, including the establishment of a standard internal procurement policy, records management in accordance with that procurement policy, to help establish what would become council-adopted city-specific financial policies. This helps us work towards bond ratings. High-quality bond ratings allow us to borrow money at a much lower rate. We would be aiming for triple bond ratings, but obviously that takes a little bit of time. This position would help develop the annual budget and would help us put in place a CAFR, a comprehensive annual financial reporting document. This is a document that has a full set of financial reports, including your audit, but additionally includes a statistical analysis at the end, which projects financial trends, revenue capacity, debt capacity, and uses demographic information and other operating information to give a full financial picture of the year. The budget is a forward-looking document. The CAFR is a reverse-looking. How did we actually do in comparison to our projections? This is a standard document for local governments to utilize to project financial health. This position would also help lead compensation studies and maintain the wage worksheets year over year. They would maintain the health benefits package and pursue any opportunities to minimize inputs, maximize outputs. They would be the accounts payable director. They would direct grant management, contract management, and all financial reporting that's required within that. So I think there's a great opportunity here to have this position, and it would all be under the direction of the administrator, but that would allow me to be more out in the community, working with you, working on other projects, assisting the planning director. There's a lot of moving parts here, and I think we can continue to professionalize and sophisticate, and I think your city's now warranting of that manner.
Any questions or comments from council?
So Grant, you said we wouldn't need to worry about where this funding would come from in future years.
Thing about this, the likelihood that the budget is going to decrease or that our revenues are going to decrease, it's a possibility, but it's unlikely. So even if we went back into a budget year next year with exactly the same budget, the money is still already there. We don't have to find it. My
But
concern.
it was a one-time overpayment, not like a multi-year overpayment that we're just now catching, correct?
No, it's not a multi-year, no.
Okay.
Yeah. That's actually why both of us saw it, was because all of a sudden it was so much greater than what it's been previously.
So right now we have an outsourced CPA firm that does a lot of what you're talking about, is that correct? And are we still going to utilize them, or how is that going to work with the new position?
Councilmember Lane, thank you for that question. Absolutely, I think we still need the outsourced CPA, and that's a critical component with a highly specialized lens for the financial statements and making sure that we're staying in compliance all along. I think all of these are in addition to what's happening in that regard.
Okay, so that's not being done currently, is basically what you're saying? Or
All
it's
of
being done
these-
in-house and it's trying to, okay.
All of these duties are currently either being done by the administrator or not being done.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question, just a side note. So bottom line, how does this affect Carson? And as far as position-wise, have y'all talked about that transition? I know, so we're talking about moving the clerk to part-time and finance director as full-time.
Councilman Mara, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I have approached Carson because she is currently the treasurer, which is a dual functioning position along with the clerk. Carson has a master's in public administration. She comes from a finance background. She has plenty of experience in this regard, and I think she would make an excellent candidate for the treasurer, finance director. If she is amenable to that, if council is amenable to creating this FTE position.
I think we'll have to give Eric Vinson some kudos for hiring her. Maybe he was thinking about that for the future one day. And also, too, thinking about the city clerk position. That's one where it has been hard to find someone that could do the money and the clerk. And so I think it's just used to, that was what the clerk did, all the things. And I think it's started to kind of split off a little bit. So I'm hoping we can find someone who knows the clerk piece and part-time. So I think that makes sense to have more dedicated focus on the funding side and money. Questions? Anything else? All right, there are 7 of us, so if I did the math right, I think we have to have 4 for a majority. So all in favor of moving this amendment into the general fund, and then we would then vote on the general fund as a separate motion. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, Grant, thank you, and thank you, Shannon and Carson. All right, so now we will have our first reading for the updated general fund budget.
So now, general fund budget. Sorry, so many things. I make a motion to consider ordinance O-05-24 to adopt the City of Travelers Rest fiscal year 2025 general fund budget. Sorry. By making appropriations, levying taxes and fees for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025, to provide for budget control of said appropriations by the city, by the Travelers Rest City Council, and such other matters related thereto, effective July 1, 2024. There is hereby levied upon the taxable property within the city limits of Travelers Rest, South Carolina for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025, as ad valorem tax of 88.9 on every dollar assessed valuation, combined with other anticipated revenue accruing to the City of Travelers Rest, shall be sufficient to produce $8,147,950 in revenues. In addition, the incorporated rate fee schedule is approved and fully set forth as part of this ordinance unless otherwise amended by City Council, and the incorporated capital improvement plan is approved and set forth verbatim as part of this ordinance unless otherwise amended by the City Council. That is my motion.
Okay, you've heard that motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Moshnice. All right, open it up for discussion. Again, this is for general fund, first reading.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit of back. The general fund, we already know all of that because that went through council this last week. Council did a lot of discussion on that so that you all know as a full council. That is before us for approval. The fee schedule, the rate fee schedule that we spoke about here contains all of our rates for permits, fees, and services the city may supply to residents, contractors, or others during the course of doing business in or with the City of Travelers Rest. This schedule is reviewed annually and adjustments are made at budget time. Council did a major update to our rate schedule last year during the fiscal 2024 budget process. This year, we are making a few slight increases due to inflation and operating costs. That's the fee schedule. Concerning the 2025 capital improvement plan, the capital improvement plan this year may seem light in its scope. However, the city is actually setting up to complete several projects that have been years in the making. Topping the list is beginning phase 1 of the Poinsett Center Streetscape project. This council priority is expected to be completed during this fiscal 2025 budget cycle. Other projects on the list include the Tubbs Mountain parking lot and downtown beautification along Main Street.
Thank you for that summary. Further discussion from council? Any notes, comments? All right, motion to send it on. All in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, local hospitality tax fund and accommodations tax fund.
All right, I make a motion to consider ordinance O-06-24 to adopt City of Travelers Rest fiscal year 2025 before council relating to the fiscal affairs of the local hospitality and local accommodations tax funds of the City of Travelers Rest, making appropriations therefore, and to provide the budget control of said appropriations by the Travelers Rest City Council and such other matters related therefore, effectively July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025. Hospitality revenue is expected revenue, $1,334,153. Expenditures, $1,343,259. The accommodations revenue is expected at $147,500 and expenditures $115,000 even. That is my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Sherry. All right, further discussion?
Okay, the hospitality and accommodations tax funds. Both of these separate funds are restricted funds, meaning council is limited to how those funds are allowed to be spent within very specific guidelines. Both incur expenditures such as landscaping and maintenance, events, programming, website expense, and such, and both budgets are balanced.
And I'll also note we have a hospitality and accommodations tax board that helps us make recommendations on funding, which is really helpful as well. All right, any further discussion or questions, comments? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Victims Advocate Fund budget.
I consider ordinance O-07-24 to adopt the City of Travelers Rest fiscal year 2025 before council relating to the fiscal affairs of the Victims Advocate Fund of the City of Travelers Rest, making appropriations therefore, and to provide the budget control of said appropriations by the City of Travelers Rest City Council, and such other matters related therefore, effectively June 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025. That is my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Kelly. Grant, you got a summary for us?
This restricted police fund is used to fund a part-time individual specific for expenses for assistance of victims of crimes within the City of Travelers Rest. This fund is expected to continue to increase in its fund balance by year end.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you for that. Our tree mitigation fund budget.
All right, I make a motion to consider ordinance O-08-23 to adopt the City of Travelers Rest fiscal year 2025 before council relating to the fiscal affairs of the tree mitigation fund of the City of Travelers Rest, making appropriations therefore, and to provide the budget control of said appropriations by the Travelers Rest City Council and such other matters related therefore effective July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025. That is my motion.
Heard that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Shanice. Any further conversation? Get a summary for us?
This is another restricted fund. This fund is used for the maintenance of the tree canopy on public city-owned properties throughout the City of Travelers Rest. Expenses include tree maintenance and replacement where warranted.
Any notes? All right, all in favor? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, last but not least, general obligation bond.
All right, consider ordinance O-09-24 to adopt the City of Travelers Rest fiscal year 2025 before council relating to the fiscal affairs of the general obligation bond of the City of Travelers Rest, making appropriations therefore and not to exceed $127,000 on behalf of this Travelers Rest City Council and such other matters related therefore effectively June 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025. That is my motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sherry. All right. Give us a summary for that.
This general obligation bond allows the city to calculate the loan payment amount to pay for the construction bond for the building of City Hall in 2017. Council is required yearly to renew this payment ordinance.
Grant, any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Grant, you can take a breath for 3 seconds. Spring Park Inn funding reallocation. I'm assuming that's you, or?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I make a motion to consider the Spring Park Inn funding reallocation of $103,000 from the fiscal year 2024 gazebo area pocket park project with an additional allocation of $22,000 from the capital funds to complete the project. That's my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Is that you, Sherry? Okay, great. Second. And so just to say it out loud again, so this is in our current budget, and we're moving money out of our capital account for one project to put towards the parking lot for additional increases.
That's exactly right. Because the parking lot came in so much more expensively than the Historical Society ever thought that it would.
And it
So
was like a 2-year-old quote.
we're
yeah.
doing our part to help them out. However, we're going to hold their feet to the fire also that this is all that they're going to get for that project.
And we'll talk about the, what is MOU? Mutual Operating?
Mhm.
Oh,
Memorandum of Operations.
MOU.
We'll talk about that next, and the public component to that as well.
Can we discuss about this before we vote?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, discussion's open. Go for it.
Okay, so I know that earlier we had people who were concerned about the parking lot, and now they wanted a fence. So just what is the procedure for them to, if they want to talk about things needed a constituent contacted me, and she wanted to come to the meeting, but she said she didn't see the notice. It's supposed to be posted 24 hours in advance. The good thing is it's the first reading, so anyone who's concerned about this can definitely come to the next meeting. But what would you think would be, they can talk to council and we can ask these questions and make sure they have the proper procedures?
So just to be clear, you're not asking a question about funding, you're asking about the residents who have a problem with the parking lot, or
Well, the
just want to make sure
funding-
that they're included in the conversation about changes?
Yes, because we have city money going towards the parking lot, and so, because there is city money, just thinking about, if there's a fence, is that in the budget for the parking lot, things of that nature?
That's a good question. Maybe we could just give a summary of, I know we've had lots of conversation with this group of individuals, and also maybe noting that the Historical Society is actually responsible for this project. We are funding it through the city, but I don't know if you want to make any notes about maybe procedurally, like how to go forward with that particular group.
Mayor Ramadan and Councilmember Chris, thank you. Yes, so this project obviously spans a number of years, so it spans, before Carson and myself coming through, but my understanding is that there have been multiple meetings of the residents as well as city officials, to include the city manager or city administrator. Don't even know my own title. City administrator, the mayor, the chair of the planning department, as well as the Historical Society. In addition, this was posted for both the committee meeting as well as this meeting 24 hours in advance. And we have a public speaking period at every meeting, correct, Carson? So they could come and speak at any point at that point. In addition, I've had some communication back and forth with the attorney representing, outlining kind of the interaction that I've understood to take place to date, as well as the process. The process has been completed by the Historical Society as the property owner. The city is participating in this advancement of the parking lot construction for public benefit, and that goes to the MOU, which is coming up next for the 30-year land lease. This project does belong to the Historical Society, which has followed the permit and construction process. So at this point, they are complete with their occupancy permit. So that process is complete at this point, and it's an adaptive reuse of the inn, which is essentially the same thing that it was always doing. So.
I appreciate that. My understanding is, we know the parking lot's coming, but I know there's conversation about different ways to have privacy. And so I just want to know what the recommendations for if they have further things for privacy, knowing that the parking lot's coming.
Yes, ma'am, and I apologize, I forgot that portion of the question. There is a fencing component that has been included in this project. It goes up to the property line there. The property owner could also fence their portion of their property if they wanted to fence it further. That's an option, and I guess we could look at it, but it's a 6-foot privacy fence down the length of the property owner's property. It does not cut back across the property owner's property. That would be the property owner's responsibility at that level.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, apologies.
Question.
I have a thought. Have we talked about, I mean, we kind of have talked about replanting trees for privacy? Would that be something added above what already is in the budget, or is that a conversation that's going to be separate?
We don't know about that. So there was a lot of conversation about this
Correct.
fence line. So I think maybe we could have conversations with
Okay.
the Historical Society. If there's an opportunity for trees, we got a tree fund. So I don't
that's
think we have to
gonna-
say no to it, yeah.
So that could be something the tree mitigation fund could fund if there's a ability
Possibly.
for that in that area.
Possibly, but my concern's going to be with that is that now we're doing something for private owners that with city money.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was just thinking like, if there's an opportunity to
gonna
put a
have to be a
tree
long
somewhere,
discussion.
yeah,
Well,
put it
it's-
somewhere, yeah.
The same as helping fund the lot that we're using, so it would also be beneficial to the city to have a nice, foliage
So
there.
possibly if it was around the parking lot, but you're not talking about around the parking lot. I mean, if we're talking about along the fence,
Can
which is
discuss
part of the privacy issue, then I'm not seeing that as a city issue at this point.
So
But that,
I
it's a
see that as
conversation that can come.
beautification between the
Yeah.
property personally, but that's something that later discussion, but just.
And also, I think it's something with the property owners and the Historical Society. But what you said, if they've done all the things that we've asked them to do, we've been in multiple conversations with these individuals. They might not ever be happy, that a parking lot is coming, but I think we've done a good job of trying to mitigate it and communicate. But, yeah, any trees, the opportunity, we had a fun for it, so.
I appreciate the 6-foot privacy fence that is going to go in as well, so.
Agree. That's probably above and beyond. Okay, great. Anybody else?
I have a question concerning the amount of money allotted, the $103,000, the reassignment. I'm just curious if we have, or if the Historical Society has considered, instead of this lump sum, $103,000, to extend the leases on properties that they already own, i.e. the driving range and the rental property behind it, in order to generate a different level of income. You follow what I'm saying? And I don't know where they are, and, you know, in those particular agreements, if the driving range property, if that lease, I know originally it was supposed to have gone away. I don't know if it's been extended. If it, number one, could it be extended more to generate a revenue stream for them? There's a duplex in the back there. I don't know the situation on that, if, you know, that's being used for income for that property or what. So I'm
What
saying
is your
there's
question, Wayne?
potential,
Is if-
there's potential for income for them there instead of a $103,000 donation, if that's something that's been explored.
You're asking if those revenue properties could help cover it instead of us paying for it?
Well, I'm sure they're not gonna be able to cover the whole thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a possibility there, if you extend that lease, instead of just saying, okay, John, you gotta go. Okay, is there a possibility that lease could be extended? Also, what about the rental properties in the back? This historically has been there, I know, for 30 years.
I don't know that we got into the financial business of the Historical Society, but I mean, I guess we could ask.
Well, I
And
mean,
they're
I'm just
over
curious.
there,
I mean,
but-
that's a big chunk of money going into a pool.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we're gonna get the benefits of it with a
Sure.
parking lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking,
I
well,
think it's gonna take a long time. Like, do we want a parking lot now, or we wanna wait?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
being
good
the devil's
question, yeah,
advocate. I'm just
yeah.
saying, there's a revenue stream there.
Yeah.
There is a revenue stream there. Or is it gonna dry up now, next year? Or can we extend it, can possibly be extended? I don't know how much he pays, don't care, ain't none of my business.
Sure.
But I do know there's a revenue stream there
Yeah.
available.
I will say this, because we have them here tonight, but I don't want to open up the floor if we don't have to. But I think thinking through, the parking lot is what we are funded, and the Historical Society, you guys got to pay for everything else. So the beautification for the outside of the house, anything that you're going to do for any potential, like, tourism or gazebo, all that stuff is on you. So this is just the parking lot. So I would assume that you're going to use any revenues. If you guys are rolling in the dough, you let me know. But I assume that's for all the other components for the house to open it up. Yeah. Well, is that okay with council, since we do have representation?
Oh,
You ask the
absolutely.
questions,
I
is that
mean,
okay with
I'm
you guys?
just
Okay,
curious.
great.
I mean, I know there
Would
is
you mind
revenue streams
Coming up
available.
here, yeah. Once we open up a can of worms, I'll tell you when to be quiet.
Yeah. If I can answer a question here.
Yeah, come on, I think it'd be
And
helpful.
save your
yeah.
time, I will. First of all, I'm Sandra Kidd. I'm the treasurer of the society. I moved to Travelers Rest a couple of years ago, but my mother grew up here, and she was a Benson. So this is a project that's near and dear to my heart, and I came back to Travelers Rest because I really love what's happening here. So thank you all for all your work and leadership to make Travelers Rest what it is today. We have an operating budget for the Spring Park Inn, and because we have to pay utilities and security and insurance and all of those things. And so the operating budget consists of the revenues from the duplex rental, the revenues from the driving range, and the driving range will sunset at some point because that's a requirement of the conservation easement. As I think most of you probably know, the driving range, the land where that sits is destined to be a public park, a park that benefits the the people of our area, and particularly Travelers Rest. So the operating budget has those revenues, and so we use all those revenues for operations. We do have a balanced operating budget for the Spring Park Inn. This project and any subsequent projects are capital projects, and there we are entirely dependent upon partnerships like this one, future grants, and, donations. So we had funding to do the interior restoration, which I know some of you have seen, but we are really starting from ground zero on, the future funding. And so does that answer the operating
Yeah,
question?
pretty much so. I mean, it was just kind of been hanging out in the air for quite a while. And, I mean, I was personal friends with Tom Gibson, and sat in that room right there
wonderful
many
person.
days. And, also at the driving range. And so, I mean, I do know that property is there. It's a part of that property. And I didn't know if there had been a date, an actual date set when the driving range had to go.
Yeah. And
Well-
Sandra, could you maybe explain why it's part of the easement? Because maybe
Okay.
everybody doesn't know
Okay,
Upstate
yes,
Forever.
a brief history, and Mark Garrison's here, and he can correct me if I get anything wrong, because that negotiation preceded my coming to the community. It was very important to Nell and Tom Gibson to protect and preserve that property. And after, I think, a lot of consideration, Nell entrusted the Historical Society. In order to ensure that the 19 acres that sits in the heart of Travelers Rest, and for which I've recently been researching the land grant. The original land grant is 1784. It was a lot more acres, but it was in 1784. It was important to Nell that we preserve that, make it possible to preserve that property, as well as the house. So this is really a two-phase project. The house has been first, so that we can begin to make it available to the public in a timely manner. We also had funding for the house. So to your point of you do what you can pay for, we had the funding for that to do that. So Upstate Forever was part of the original agreement, and they provided the conservation easement on the property, which means that it must be held in perpetuity as a park for the enjoyment of the public. The conservation easement then triggered a gift from the South Carolina Land Bank. I may not be getting that title correct, but I think you all know what I'm talking about, which made it possible to complete the paperwork on that. So the house is phase one. I call phase one interior. I call this work that we're doing now, which is parking lot, which you are helping to fund as part of our partnership and use agreement that we'll be discussing. But also it will be sidewalks and the ADA accessibility to the house. That's part one of the exterior project, and then parts two and to be determined would be the actual development of the park as we raise those funds.
Great. Thank you very much,
Does that
Sandra.
help?
Yeah, that's very helpful. I
Thank
think
you.
what I heard from you storytelling-wise, when people ask about the driving range or complain about it leaving, is that it was Mrs. Gibson's property, and her goal was that that was used for public park in the future. So when people are like, oh, we're losing our golf range, which is
Right.
kind of cool to have it on Main Street. But
Well,
that was
and-
her intention,
Yeah.
was to have it for public park.
And we continue to advocate with Upstate Forever that we be able to use it for the driving range as long as we haven't started yet on the park. As you all know, fundraising for something like a park, especially for it to be what we hope it will be, that's a big order. That's a big order. So, but the ultimate decision is Upstate Forever's.
Okay.
And we meet with them at least annually to discuss where we are and what our plans are. We think the driving range is wonderful. The rent is very modest, but we like John being there, and we want to keep that going. So we get what we need, Wayne, to meet our operating budget obligations.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you all. It's good to meet all of
You
you.
didn't come for no reason. We actually had a question for you that you had to answer.
And I'm happy to answer any other financial questions that
All
I
right.
can.
Thank you
so.
very much.
And you
Sandra.
stayed for all the boring parts with
Yeah.
the
That's dedication.
Treasurer, so this is
You like it.
Yeah, good.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that question, Wayne. Do we have any other discussion points, questions, conversations, Spring Park Inn funding reallocation in this current budget? All right, all in favor? Carries, thank you for that. And now we will talk about our Spring Park Inn. Mutual
Administrator Shannon, let
understanding.
me ask you, so I know that I'm wording this correctly. This has already been signed by Historical Society? We're waiting for our signature on this, or we're waiting to give this to them for their signature?
They have executed a copy of it. The copy
Okay.
in front of you does
Okay.
not have that execution on it, but they are in support of this.
So they're in agreement on their side, yeah.
So,
Great, great.
so
All right.
I make a motion to approve the agreement before us and the memorandum of understanding with the Travelers Rest Historical Society concerning the paving and parking lot area that is to be constructed at their residence.
Okay, all right. I've heard that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Lisa. All right, open it up for discussion, or Shannon, anything to kind of highlight for their 30 years? We'll basically do the blowing of the parking lot, some of those things.
Mayor Almondon, yes, as we talked about in the committee meeting, this is a land use agreement. The funding is a one-time donation in conjunction with the land use agreement. It is a 30-year term. We do have an annual review of policies to ensure that all operations are going well for both parties. It is meant to be a spirit of cooperation and quality public use for everyone.
Is it like 10,000 or something a year for how many spaces? Just thinking about like city, Carson, can you do the math? It's something in that range, but just thinking about what we paid in the past for parking lots and costs, it feels like a fair
Yes,
amount. So.
I would agree, Mayor. For the time limit that we have on this and the renewable option, I think it's a quality investment for the city. Parking is not an inexpensive venture to get into.
And having it right downtown.
And it truly is an agreement between us and the Historical Society, and it's beneficial for both parties.
Yes, sir, I would agree.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Thank you for that. And Sandra, Mark, I know you guys get paid a lot of money to be on the Historical Society board and do renovation projects and parking lots and all that fun stuff. So we really appreciate, and like Grant said, holding your feet to the fire on the cost. Sandra, I know you a boss about maintaining that project, so I have no doubt it's gonna do all the things and will be great. It'll be in budget. So thank you guys so much for all your help there. And also just, that's such a cool opportunity, and so it needs really good guardians, so thank you for that. All right, old business, we have none. New business, we have none. Miscellaneous matters. Administrative Herman, when Grant said that earlier, that sounds weird. Administrative Herman. What updates do you have for us?
And I'm fine with Shannon, too. I'll be brief. I know we've been long, but I do have some excellent things to share with you. Number one, and very important and near and dear to all of our hearts, this is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Week. So if you see our law enforcement around town, please thank them for the excellent job they do and the heart that they carry for our people.
Even the ones that hobble.
Even the ones that hobble, and unfortunately, currently, we have several who are hobbling, so please keep them in your prayers. We did have an officer injured yesterday, so. And obviously, our police chief is not in full repair at the moment as well, so. Additionally, I'm very excited to announce the hiring of a new planning director. We are extending an offer of employment, and it's been accepted to Jay Martin. Jay comes to us from Arbor Engineering with over 32 years in planning and development expertise. He is a landscaper by trade, spent a small amount of time in Divinity, back to landscaping with Arbor Engineering. He's been the vice president of planning for Arbor Engineering, and he's most recently been the a senior principal there. He comes with an extensive background in public-private partnerships, commercial, residential, and recreational projects. Some of his recreational projects are right here in Travelers Rest. Additionally, he was part and parcel to the Cancer Survivors Park, Main Street in Fountain Inn, and many other projects which make him highly qualified for this position. He also comes with a background in land use and zoning regulations, grading and draining, environmental planning, and other public-private initiatives. So I'm very excited that Jay has agreed to join our team. I think he's going to be an excellent addition. Also, I did speak with CoTransco, which is the project manager for the Poinsett Center Streetscape project. Just before this meeting, they got back to me and wanted to let you know that we are on time for what they anticipate to be a June start for construction. So that's excellent news. Philip and his team has been working with the Garden Club. They actually went and purchased the materials. The Garden Club purchased the materials to build 5 planter boxes to go around the gazebo. And Philip and David and Scott and their team are all working on that construction. So that's an excellent partnership. And also they completed today a new roof on the shelter at the Athens Park. So lots of things going on around here.
All right, I'll open up for council. I had just 2 miscellaneous things. One, thank you for Carson, Renee, and Beth, and Shannon. I'm sure you helped some as well, but with the music concert series, they're usually there cheering everyone on, and they had the rescheduled 10-year anniversary last Saturday, so appreciate you guys showing up and helping manage our artists, and it's been really great crowds, which has been really nice. And then thank you to our Public Works. David and Scott came and helped me deliver milkweed to Gateway Elementary School this week in the rain, which was really nice. And so this is part of our Caregivers of Mother Earth certification. And so the high school grew the milkweed for the 2nd graders who learned about the migration of the monarch butterflies, which was really cool. And so we got to deliver that to a bunch of happy 2nd graders. And so appreciate them helping us with that project. But anybody else on council have anything to mention or any items of note?
I just wanted to add an update. So the mural that was done on TR Oriental is complete. The 2nd mural will start this week. They're cleaning the building. We made our fundraising goal the beginning of this week, which we're very excited. So it's officially fundraising done, and we had grants from the city and others. We had community and business. So it was a really nice blend. It also has stirred some excitement. There's 2 other murals coming on Main Street and ideas for a couple others. So we're very excited about that.
And this is the Loftus building, right?
The Loftus is this is the part 2. And the Loftus is going to be very historical. Every letter will have a historical piece in it.
For Travelers Rest.
For Travelers Rest.
And Sherry, thank you for spearheading that. I don't know if it would have happened without you driving it and working with all the other partners, but it's a really cool, I'm glad you're passionate about it because it's going to make a big difference. So very cool. All right, anybody else? All right, I appreciate the long meeting and thanks for our staff for hanging out for it as well. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, second, Lisa?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Jay, I'm going to second.
No.